All right, great to see you this morning. Let's make sure we're set up for our pricing course, or our pricing course, our session today, chatting all about the 5 elements of profitable pricing. I'm really interested in pricing in general, and I want to make sure that you have a good basis of either starting your pricing if you're new to the baking industry, or kind of reviewing what you're doing with your pricing now in case you need to revamp it. Just make sure I can see your comments. Okay, good morning, Elizabeth. Good to see you. All right, looks like I'm good with comments. So if you have any questions about pricing, I want you to post them on this video, either here with me live, which would be easiest, or you can post later on the hashtag replay, or you can even send me a direct message if you have a question that you just really need a little bit of insight on. I'm happy to help with this because I know it's really important to all of us to make sure that the industry is healthy when it comes to pricing. If we've not met before, I'm Melissa Fryer. I'm the owner and the founder of Build a Better Bakery, and I help fellow bakers who are ambitious to get started or get growing in their business to cultivate their confidence. So finding more joy, less stress, figuring out a better way of doing things, just feeling good about being a business owner. That's what I like to focus on. So if you are here with me live for any of the sessions, go out and throw up your hashtag live or just say hello so I know you're here, or you can throw up your hashtag replay if you're ever on the replay. Now, here for September, in our group, we are focusing on profitable pricing because it's a good season to kind of revamp what you're doing so that you're heading into the holidays with good pricing and hoping to end out the year with some income for yourself and maybe some profit for your business as well. Now, if you're gearing up to start selling, or you're already selling and you know that you're not really thinking about profitability, you're just kind of using some certain numbers here and there, then you will like this information today. You will need to hear this information today. Examples of subpar pricing strategies that you might be using now would be something like materials ×3, or copying prices from other bakers, or emotionally pricing your products. Those are all examples of situations in which you're probably not making enough or you're not pricing correctly, and we can change that today. So in this session, we're covering the 5 elements of the thorough profitable pricing formula that I've used myself over the last 16 years, and it has allowed me to create a 6-figure business of, I'm doing certain things, obviously. You might be baking different things than I am, but the formula itself can be applied to pretty much any business. It's just about thinking how to break things up and then how to add them back up so that you can end up with a price that works for you. Okay, so we are going to, and remember, ask your questions if you have them. Okay, also before we hop in, just to let you know how to stay on top of these lives if you want to be a part of them. I'm here at 9 a.m. Mountain Time every Thursday, right here in the group live. So this is where you would come if you want the live content for at the moment, that's what's happening. You can check the events in the group to see what's happening in the future. If there's any new events posted, you can mark yourself as going at that time. You can send Melissa Fryer, that's me, a friend request on the Facebook platform. I will accept it, and then you should get automatically invited to the events when they're made. You can hang out on our email list, which is used for like updates and to send direct replays of these sessions out. Or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, where I also post replays pretty consistently. You might see those even earlier on YouTube than you would through the email. So that might be a good place for you to go as well. And they're also on demand, so you can watch as many as you want all on the channel. And that's there for you. Alrighty, so let's hop in. I want to say something to y'all about pricing in general before we break it down so that you can kind of get into the mindset of what we're going to be talking about. I often hear a lot of bakers over the last few years performing mentorship and talking directly with bakers in my area. I hear a lot of people say they just want to make more money baking. You know, that's the thing. They want to make more money. But when you ask further questions about how they're planning on doing that, it's almost always that they want to make more product rather than raise current prices. So it's kind of this idea that if they just work harder and make more, that they'll make more income, but they're not really thinking about the pricing, or they don't want to approach the pricing. So if you're already making products and selling them, each sale should be profitable on its own. Like that. So it's not necessarily a volume issue at this point. It should be that each sale is profitable as you go, rather than you have to make X to make any money, right? You have to make a certain amount. That's more of a volume issue. So what we can do now is address the pricing first. Once that's corrected, then we can talk about volume and getting more orders. But for now, we need to start at the bare bones of the pricing itself. Hey, Missy. Hey, Courtney. Hey, Nicole. Hi. I'm so glad you guys are here. I hope you're having a good day. It's finally starting to cool down here in Texas. So I actually enjoy like letting the dogs out in the morning, sit on my coffee, do all that stuff. So hopefully you're also receiving some nicer weather. Okay, again, if you guys have any pricing questions, put them down here and I will read through them as we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, each sale should be profitable. Today, we're going to discuss the components of approaching profitable pricing. So I'm not going to take you through the nitty-gritty numbers, the charts, all of that's in the pricing course if you want to take it. I'm going to give you the 5 element components. You can take it and use it on your own. You can get into the course and get the specifics that I talk about, whichever works best for you. But at the end of the day, you'll likely need to charge more in general. And that could be like a certain set of products aren't profitable and your other ones are. I don't know yet. And that's something we could look at together if you're in the course or in the mentorship. But as you're looking through your own numbers, you might be able to see that on your own too. So this is just going to help you kind of figure out what's going on in the background. Alrighty. So if you want to be profitable, but you're not interested in raising your prices at all, you might not find what you need here today. Please stick around if you want to hear the information, but it's likely going to show you that you need to do that. Okay. All right, let's hop in with number 1. The first category for profitable pricing is materials. And I think that we can all get behind this one, right? Like when we buy stuff to make a product, we want the clients to pay for the materials. We're not a charity, right? We're not buying stuff, making it, give it to them. We want them to pay for the material. And the trick here, especially with the volatile food pricing that we're seeing over the last couple of years, is keeping good notes and staying up to date with materials costs. So just making sure you're looking at that. And I got a question last session about how often should I look? It's really kind of dependent on what you make, what food products or what materials are volatile, and how often you need to look. You know, during the egg crisis, if you were making cheesecakes or quiches or something that had a lot of egg in it, that's probably going to be a once a month of video. You know, you're going to visual. Go look at the numbers, double check and see if you need to raise prices for a little while, whatever it is. So really that's a personal thing. But I think every 3 to 6 months, just to give an eye on it is great. And if your prices really aren't changing that much, maybe once a year and just at the end of the year or mid-year or whenever you have some time, go through and check everything. All right. So I often get asked this question, how do I cost out a recipe? And I think to me, it seems pretty 1, 2, 3 straightforward. But if you don't know how to do that, I'm going to try to break it down as simply as possible so that when you think about that question, you don't need to ask anyone again. You'll know what to do. And it's essentially, you're just calculating how much of the product is going in, how much of the material is going into the product and what did it cost you, right? And so it's kind of some division needs to happen usually. So it's like, what does a bag of X cost you? How much did you use? And how much did that cost for the client? Example would be a bag of 4 cups of flour is $1. You used 1 cup of flour for the recipe. So the cost of the flour is 25 cents in that recipe. And then you would just create a list of each of those categories. You're going to add everything up that you used for that order. And I also suggest having a kind of like a consumable category, which can feel like whatever, I don't need to cover that kind of stuff. But over time, it does add up. So that would be something like parchment paper, dish soap, pan spray, figuring out a little amount of money that you can collect for each of those products into an amount that you can charge per order or similar, so that people can slowly pay you back for those things that you buy maybe once a month or once every couple months. Okay, so these are things adding on to the things that you're putting in the actual bowl, also the things that you need to use to bake on top of that. Now, there are plenty of apps out there, or even an Excel sheet that you can make on your own to help you easily calculate these costs. I don't use apps, I don't pay for them specifically because I know how to price, which is what we're talking about today. You know how to price from the bare bones. After that, you really don't need an app's help because you know what the app is doing. You've learned, hey, how is it calculating this stuff out? That's what, learning about pricing in general is going to help you do. But if you just want something to hold the information and help you calculate pretty fast, that would be a good option. You just want to double check that all of the algorithms or the numbers that they're using to calculate are correct, because sometimes those can have mistakes. So you just want to double check that everything's good with that. And for anyone that's getting ready to do this, if you've never done this before, just keep in mind that it can be kind of time consuming to enter the data the first few times, just getting used to it. Going to record the pricing, get it put into the app or the sheet, setting up the calculations in the sheets, whatever it is, it does take some time. So just know that you're going to have to kind of set aside a day or half a day or something to mess around with that. Hey, Claudia, good to see you. Okay, let's head into number 2. We're going to talk about labor and wages. And in this case, I'm just going to assume that everyone's paying themselves for the most part. Because if you have employees, that is going to usually set into another category, which we'll talk about later. So this would be labor wages for yourself. It's just the simple concept of trying to pay yourself for your time. And there are 2 aspects that I want to hit on for this one. One, I believe that all workers, including you, deserve a living wage. So if you're trying to lower your prices for your clients by taking something like $5 an hour, or $1.50 an hour, or whatever it is, you're doing yourself a disservice in my view. I feel that your time is just as important as anyone else's and that everyone deserves a living wage. So I'm going to say that. And then also number 2, I believe to be good at pricing your products, you must charge for all the time that you spend where you cannot leave. So if you can't leave the house or the shop while you're working on that item, I feel like that is part of your job. Any other job on the clock, you wouldn't be able to go anywhere, right? You'd have to stay there. So just because maybe you don't consider what's happening during certain parts of the process as that important, I want you to understand, at least in the form of pricing, you can't really do much else and you have to stay there. So it really is an amount of time that you're asking someone to wait around to make your product. And you can use that time for other things, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be, thought I turned that off, sorry. It doesn't necessarily have to be, like and a good example is people say, well, I don't want to charge for the time that the product is baking because I'm not doing anything. In reality, you're probably cleaning the kitchen. You're probably prepping for something else. You might be working on things for the order, like making boards or fondant, or you might be putting the cupcake boxes together, whatever it is. You can't leave the house. So that, in my view, is a totally chargeable amount of time. Now, if it's something else like the dough is rising or something similar, proofing something, you can leave. You can go to the store, you can go to dinner, whatever. So that's a different type of situation. So again, just keep in mind, that's my view on how to charge for your time. To better understand your labor, a really good tip that I had to use at the beginning, just because it was hard, I would get into like a Zen moment and all this time would pass and I wouldn't be paying attention. So if you can get just a cheap little timer or use your microwave or your phone and just time and record exactly how much you're spending on each element of the order, I think that's going to help you, even if you don't do it long term. For the first few weeks of doing that, you're going to start to see, okay, how much time is this actually taking per step? And that would be things like consult. So how much time are you spending talking to people, shopping, prep time, cleaning time, mixing, baking, packaging, cleanup, final consult, which includes usually a pickup or delivery. So all of those little elements, I think having a period of time that's covered in the price for your labor would be a smart way to make sure that you're ending up with your income at the end and it's not being sucked up by all this extra time that you're not accounting for. What's going to happen is you're going to not have enough time to do enough orders to make enough money because you haven't allocated the time in the pricing. Does that make sense? So you won't be able to take as many orders as you need because you actually don't have that time you're using on other parts of the orders that you already have. So in essence, we need to be more specific about that to make sure we know what's coming in. I do think that many bakers have a hard time with this one because baking just takes a lot of time and they feel bad, right, for charging for it. But that's just how the cookie crumbles, right? It's just a lot of time and labor. That's part of it. That's why we love it, but that's also part of why the industry pricing issues is such a problem for us who are trying to run businesses. At any other job, you'd be on the clock, you'd be working, you'd be getting paid. So I believe that should be the same for your pricing. And it's really all just about bringing the reality of the world into seeing what it's like to purchase an artisan baked product and what it's really worth, because what are we putting into it? Now, later on, you may be able to shave off time. So if you wanted to like lower pricing or just be able to stack more orders, you might be able to fit more in with the time you have as you get faster. And that's just a bonus for you, in my view, because it doesn't always work out that way. So that would be like you figuring out how to layer your time so that you can make more and more income with what you have. If you decide to not charge enough for your time, you are spelling your financial failure, because that is your control. You're the boss. You control that. If you decide not to charge for your time, then you're deciding to have a lower paycheck. That's just part of it. Okay, let's move into number 3, which is overhead. This one I see has been treated kind of vaguely in some of the popular apps out there. I feel like the vagueness of it is likely where a lot of the profitability issues are coming from, because overhead can be very complex. There can be a lot of numbers coming in and out of it that we look over because maybe they aren't charged monthly, or we don't think of it as like a business cost. So I think getting a little more deep dive into this is important. And if you are to pay anyone, like a payroll or something similar, I would have their pay in this section. Okay. So these costs are things, anything that you pay for to run your business. So it could be like a website, it could be your rent, it could be utilities, insurance, Canva, Zoom, anything that any apps, any real-time products, or kind of like products and services that you use to run the business, really any bill that you need to pay to make things run. You can even get more specific and break it down into things like partial phone bills, gasoline for going shopping, and things like that. Now, this is the part where I feel like people tend to skimp here, not necessarily because they feel bad about charging for their time, which is the issue with the labor, but this is more because they don't really feel like it makes sense to take the time or the few minutes to look at the data, because they feel like it's not much money. But again, when we look at numbers and pricing, things really start to add up over time, and it can spell that failure that we don't want to experience, the financial failure, because we're being too relaxed with it. And we're not being like business owners. We're not being specific about what's coming in and what's going out. One of the only places it can come out of, if you miss a payment that you should be allocating for in pricing, is from usually your pay, because you're paying everyone else first. You're the last one in line. You get what's left, right? So this might be one of the reasons why, if you feel like you're doing pretty good on everything else, you might want to look at this category and really go through all your bills again to see if there's something strange happening in the background that either you didn't really consider as part of your business, but it is, or there's something happening that, like, for instance, bakers will forget about something like insurance or their website payment that happens annually. You know, it's something that doesn't happen that often. And then out of nowhere, this one huge bill shows up, it depletes your income from your bank account, and you weren't ready for it, and you weren't covering it in your pricing. And so that was your paycheck, right? It's just gone. That happens a lot to us. So I think getting more nitty gritty about the overhead is probably important. Okay. Hi, Terry. All right, Elizabeth says, do you use a spreadsheet or something to keep track and price your items? If not, what do you use? So since I've been doing this so long, what I did is I used, it's essentially what the Pricing for Profit course is. I created my pricing chart based on the data that we're talking about here today. I use the percentages in the course to help me figure out how much do I want each section to be. When it comes to the ones that you can push and pull, like income or your labor and wages, your profit percentage, which we'll talk about at the end. Once you have that set up, what I did is I created my own chart. So every product that I sell has a price, and it's all printed in a chart. So when I'm quoting somebody, it's not like it calculates it, it's a printed product. So again, that would be for anyone who wants to update something, you would update your printed sheet. This is also helpful for people who have employees, because having the price already ready for them to quote out, especially if you have someone at the front counter who's taking orders, they need to have that information in front of them. It would be too much, I think, to ask them to like use an app calculator. You know, they might not even make cakes or make cookies or whatever it is that you're doing. So having something printed is important, but it does need to be updated. So for me, I created the prices based on my numbers. I look at it once a year, or if I move, like when I moved here, I had to look at it again and revamp. And then I just quote from that chart. So no apps. I don't calculate everything. I use average pricing, which is something else that you'll see in the course. And it allows me to have an average price for product categories. So I'm not nickel and diming people when it comes to like flavors. It's an average cost. So if someone orders a vanilla cake, then they're likely paying a little bit more than what the actual nitty-gritty numbers would say. But then if they ordered something like German chocolate that has a lot of nuts and more expensive chocolate and products in it, they're probably paying a little bit less. But we know usually people tend to go with the cheaper, more basic flavors over time. So it ends up evening out pretty dang close. Every year I've checked it, it's pretty dang close to center. So that's how I do it. It's just a lot easier for me and my clients. Courtney says, I use cake cost for all my items. So helpful. Yeah. So cake cost is a popular one. I think someone shared it, might have been Elizabeth. I think someone shared it in the group showing different sections, and it might have broken it down somewhere else, but the overhead area was just one number, which I thought was pretty vague. So if it breaks it down, let me know. I feel like that was kind of the only negative or that I could see from that screenshot, that it was super vague. So that's why I brought up just make sure you're breaking it down so that you know all the little nitty-gritty that's happening in the back. All right, number 4, I want to talk about a section that I'm just going to call it depreciation, because that's essentially what it is in general. This is one that I don't see very often in other apps and calculators, because in my perspective, it's more of like a future cost preventative measure. I don't like going into a business feeling like I'm paying for the business all the time. I want the business to pay for itself. So this is the way that I had figured out to help my clients help me slowly save for new equipment when it goes down. So $500 KitchenAid, whatever, if you need to buy an oven, like whatever it is, those larger costs, even the smaller ones, honestly. And I think it's important just to make sure that your income is predictable, your business is paying for itself, and things are protected as the equipment fails. And again, there's a certain percentage in the course. It helps you decide what you want that to be based on your data and what kind of tools you're using. And then you would collect those funds, you would put it into a savings account. And then when it comes time for you to buy that new mixer, the money is in there and you can grab from that and then purchase. So it's just protecting your income. All right, number 5 section I want to talk about is profit, which we say profitable pricing, right? I consider this more of a business growth profit for myself. That's how I like to use this money, but it can be used for other things. So it could be a larger percentage and you could share it via different categories. So you could pay a partner, who maybe is, I don't know, there's lots of situations, but let's say, someone needed to get a little bit of money for being for helping you or whatever it is. You could pay a partner with that. You could pay an angel investor with that. You could start a savings account, which is what I do. You could have an investment account attached to your business, which is an interesting way of using the money as well, having it build on itself. And I'm sure there are other ideas that you could come up with for the specific percentage of money. So I like to keep it on hand because I like to buy, once in a while, I like to buy like big shiny things that I want for the business to help me scale or expand. I love to do things out and I will do it. I have a hard time waiting. So I have that account set up so that when I see something that I want to try, the money's there. I can grab from it, purchase the product or the service, and then I can get on my way with trying it out. So having this profit category allows you to make other expansions because you have access to those funds right away. So if you needed like a helper for the holidays or a quick business service that you just need to get done real quick so you can do something else, etc. You've got that money, you can adjust pricing as you're moving into that, and you don't have to wait to make the improvement. If you have to like apply for a loan or something like that, that could be more time waiting. So me, I don't like to wait. So that's why I keep that on hand. But you would, if it needed to be used for something else, you definitely could do that. Yeah, Elizabeth said that was her. Yeah, so if you look back at Elizabeth's post, if anyone's interested in cake costs, she shared some screenshots of the inside of it to help her get the pricing set up for her products. Okay. And for anyone who has cake costs or something similar, a lot of people use it. So I know it must be doing okay. We don't know for sure how profitable these people are, but it looks like you can go in and change, hopefully like change percentages to be what you want them to be. So using an app is great. And if you feel like that's enough information for you, that's great. If you feel like you need more information, you can always learn about the nitty-gritty of how it's set up inside of that on your own. And that might even help you use it a little more efficiently. If you're not exactly sure which each section is, that might help too. All right, so our 5 sections: materials, labor or wages for yourself in most cases, overhead, which would include payroll or paying someone else, and all of the bills that you would have for your business, depreciation, which is that extra category of helping you plan for the future and having your business pay for itself, and then a profit amount, which could be used for many different things. I like to save it to buy those shiny, exciting things that I get that I just feel like YOLO, you know, like get out there, get it done. That's what I like to do. So that's why I save mine. Now I want to talk about a 6th bonus section, which is taxes. The reason I don't include it in the formula itself is because I talk to people from all over the world. Tax situations vary across all platforms of what they're doing, who they work for. And sometimes these tax situations can be complicated, and I'm not a tax professional. So I don't include it in there because it's not necessarily, it's kind of like an add-on. So I want you to be conscious of it. That's why I'm going to bring it up here. And it's something that everyone's going to have to look into on their own, depending on where you're at. You may or may not be charging sales tax on your products. That might not even be a thing for you. If you are, you're going to be remitting it to whichever authority is collecting those taxes in your area. And you can find out what the percentage is. Usually it could be 1% or it could be multiple percentages added together, depending on where you live. And then they might have you turning it in monthly or yearly. It's different everywhere. So again, that's why I just have that as a bonus area. Many states in the US don't even charge sales tax for baked products that are not sold warm and are not sold with plates and utensils. At least most of them that I've looked at, those are the two distinguishing areas where you don't have to, if they don't collect sales tax on baked products, that's what separates the two. And if you have other insight on that, let me know. That's just what I've seen. Now, when it comes to IRS taxes in the US, which is again, another category of taxation, know that you should be saving around 30 to 40% of your take-home income. So not your revenue, because you won't be taxed on what it takes to run your business, but they will tax you on what you're bringing, what you're taking home from that. It's going to be hard to know exactly what that is. But once you have your pricing category set up like I do, once everything's paid out and all the money is moved to the different categories, what you see left at the end of your account is usually your take-home amount. So you can, what I like to do is say it's like, you know, whatever the number is, you can take the percentage of what you need to save, 30 to 40%. You can move that to a savings account for your IRS taxes, and then the rest of it can just get deposited into your bank account. You'll still have the money around. So if you need to use it for something, or if at the end of the year, you might owe a little bit more, you might be able to save, you know, get your refund from yourself. But recently my taxes like really shot up. So I've been excited to have that because I don't feel as scared. It's just sitting there at the end of the year. It makes it a little bit easier to pay for your taxes. Self-employment tax can be it can feel pretty high at the end of the year. So that's how I like to do that. And the 30 to 40% is if you're a sole proprietorship in the US. I don't know for sure. I don't have an LLC. Long story, this is not the point of this video, but I carry sole proprietorship in high-end insurance instead of an LLC for various reasons. I move a lot. The last state I lived in, it was $800 a year to have an LLC. I just did not find it useful for myself. So I'm not sure about that taxation. Maybe you can let us know. And again, there's just so many tax situations. I just suggest creating that savings account where you can deposit each month and hold the funds that you need to until you need them for later. Okay. So pricing in the end is just numbers. And I know a lot of people don't feel confident with math. They don't like doing it. It makes them feel strange. They don't want to think about that kind of stuff. I get it. If you're ready to be profitable, you have to look at the reality of the numbers. And that's just part of putting on your business hat and taking on the reality of what you're doing. You will find the pricing that works for you for long-term financial health. The numbers are there. You just have to determine what it is. So there are answers. That's the nice thing about math, is there's always going to be an answer. If you're going to like it or not, I don't know. But at least you'll know, what am I getting myself into once I figure out this financial health number that I need to hit? Okay, so this is not pricing that just feels right or matches other bakers. This is the actual numbers that we need to know. Let me double check these. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come in. So if you have any pricing questions, even if it's a little bit off topic, but it's still pricing related, you can put it in the comments right now before I head out. I wanted to remind you that I was able to build a 6-figure business with this 5-part formula. So it can be done. It covers the past, present, and future costs. That's what I feel is important about pricing. We come into that financial health. I want you to be in this for the long term. If you want me to walk you through the exact numbers, percentages, charts, everything that I talked about a few minutes ago, so you can construct your unique pricing numbers. And I'll be in your corner too. You're gonna have a coach in the corner as you're going through the content. You're gonna get extra interesting videos on pricing and strategy as well. That's gonna help complement and get you going as you're using your new numbers. Then the Pricing for Profit course is for you. That's the course we have online to help people with pricing. What's nice is it's guaranteed that you'll love it or you get your money back. So we're not here to give you poor content. We want you to love the content. So that's our promise to you. And for those who view this September session within 24 hours, that's why coming live to these is important sometimes when we do little discounts or fun things. Within 24 hours of the live, I'm offering a sweet little deal to get 50% off. So you can take half off the course completely. You can apply code week3 to the website when you click on the courses, and I can also add the link later. When you get in, you'll get some juicy info and some bonus mentorship as well. So you won't feel alone as you're going through the content. It is available for you to claim through the next 24 hours, valid through Friday, September 22nd at 11 a.m. That's when the code's not going to work anymore. So if you want to get in and try out the course, you can go over there and do that now for half off. And before I hop off here, I also want to remind you that if you're interested in commercial space or you have a timeline to open one for yourself, I'm working through, most of the editing is done on the course material for Cottage to Commercial, which is another online course that's going to help people move into commercial space with a lot more know-how and confidence than before. And it's the whole team of coaches that are in on that one too. So everyone's going to be giving you their insight on organization, marketing, branding, a huge do and don't list, everything from hiring to scheduling to open hours to ordering to inventory, all those little questions that you might not even know that you had. I'm going to cover those for you as well. And there's a wait list to get in there. You're going to get some freebies if you're on the wait list and you take advantage of it right when it launches, hopefully in 2 weeks or so. So if you want to get on, just let me know. I can send you the link to get onto this little free wait list too. You don't have to get in if you don't want, but you'll know when it launches at least, so you can make a choice then. Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any new comments or questions. I'm going to head out for the day. I'll be here with you next week on Thursday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, right here in the group. I'm going to talk once more about profitable pricing for the month, and we're going to cover some mindset shifts that will hopefully help the last 3 weeks of pricing information settle into you so that you can embrace the ideas around you. If you're having issues feeling like you can use the pricing information, having trouble feeling like you can raise prices, having trouble just pricing in general and selling selling the products, whatever it is, I've picked some top ones that I think are really important. And it's going to be, it might be a little maybe triggering or vulnerable for people, but I think it's something that you might need to hear so that you can push through into the next level. Okay, so I'm going to share that with you next week. I hope you all have the best day. Stay safe out there, and I will see you later.